After the mixed feelings Pokemon fans had towards Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, the real deal 8th generation Pokemon games Sword and Shield were finally revealed. And to the delight of many paranoid fans, including myself, it looks like all our prayers to the great Lord Cromdar were answered, because things are finally going back to the tried and true mechanics. But for all the farts that were firmly planted in Let's Go cereal for being too casual friendly, I'll be the first to admit that those games did add a few improvements to the gameplay that the mainline series ought to consider stealing. Sadly though, some of these improvements are probably going to be left behind to reassure fans that the Pokemon we all know and love's not going anywhere. What improvements am I talking about? Well, pour yourself a glass of milk straight from a Tauros, put your shorts on because they're comfy and easy to wear, press the subscribe button if you haven't already, and allow me, Time Magazine's Man of the Year, Cameron, to tell you 5 things that Pokemon Sword and Shield should copy from Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Number 1. Not having random encounters. Like some of the points in this video, I'm sure this one's gonna divide people. But if you ask my manky ass, I think that random encounters ultimately make video games worse if you look at it objectively. Don't get me wrong, I've played my fair share of RPGs that have random encounters in my day. And while I find grinding for higher levels relaxing, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to choose to avoid battles if need be. I know Pokemon games have repels, and thankfully the games eventually let you reuse them without opening up your items menu. But seeing the wild Pokemon you'll encounter in Let's Go and having the choice of whether or not you want to try and catch it's just way better. I don't like having to flick my wrist to throw Pokeballs at them, and I think it's lame as hell that we can't weaken them with our own Pokemon, but actually seeing what you're gonna encounter beforehand to me is a huge improvement. It's way less time consuming if you're looking for a specific Pokemon, chaining could be a whole lot of fun, and most importantly, if you want to just pass through an area with wild Pokemon without having to waste time running away over and over again, then all you gotta do is keep your hands to yourself. Complaining about random encounters really is more of a nitpick, but it really sucks when you're just trying to go from one town to another and find a patch of unavoidable grass. It makes you feel like Jackie Chan in any movie he's ever been in. You may not want trouble, but 99% of the time it's gonna find you. And that feeling that overwhelms you when you get into a time-wasting encounter on the last patch of grass is literally worse than stepping on a landmine. And I'm literally using the word literally. I'd actually rather blow up and die than deal with a wild Pokemon encounter I didn't want to get into. Because if you really don't feel like dealing with it, it's kind of like someone taking the controller out of your hands for a few seconds every now and then. The bottom line is that I never fully realized how not fun random encounters are, but when I played games like Earthbound, Mother 3, Personas 3 through 5, and of course Pokemon Let's Go, I was just convinced more and more how much better it is to not have to deal with random encounters. And I think pretty much every RPG, not just Sword and Shield, ought to take notes. Number 2. Not storing Pokemon in a PC. Much like random encounters, I've never once in all my years of playing Pokemon ever thought of the PC in a negative light. But then after playing Pokemon Let's Go, I started questioning my entire existence.
I just don't know if I know who I am anymore.
To be blunt though, having to travel all the way back to a PC just to change your party's annoying. If I'm in the middle of exploring a cave and I want to change my party up for whatever reason, I think I should be allowed to just do it. Cause realistically, which is a word you should never use when talking about Pokemon, who the frig would stop me if I was carrying more than 6 Pokemon with me in the forest?
Hey, who's gonna arrest me, huh? The friggin' trees? Yeah.
I know this could be exploited to make the game easier, but with the experience share along with NPCs that fully restore your health in between towns anyway, I think challenging Pokemon games went out the window a long time ago. And besides, it's not like having access to all your Pokemon anytime you want is something you have to abuse. If just having the potential to take advantage of the system bothers you, then you could just self-impose the honor system by pretending PCs still exist and only change your party at Pokemon centers. But I'm pretty sure most people would prefer convenience. Number 3. Stylizing your Pokemon. If giving Pikachu a bowl cut's wrong, then I don't want to be right. This one's probably my least important feature to bring back, but it's something I really don't see any problems with. I know this feature's a lot easier to make work in Let's Go because you only really have 2 Pokemon to stylize. And I'm sure trying to create alternate hairstyles for 37,000 different Pokemon would be a programming nightmare, but at the very least, it'd be pretty cool if you could personalize your starters by adding some accessories to them. After all, your starter Pokemon's supposed to be your best bud, and customization goes a long way to make it feel like your own unique Pokemon as opposed to one of a million others. I know that Pokemon's evolutions always look way different later on, and certain hairstyles would probably have to go out the window because of it, but since the character model for Pikachu in Sword and Shield looks like it was copy and pasted from Let's Go, I don't see any reason why we can't at least customize Pikachu and Eevee. And if you're a traditionalist who thinks all Pokemon need to look the same, then all you gotta do is not use this feature, you bimbo. Number 4. Pokemon Go compatibility. Hold on, before you shove a Safari Ball up my ass, hear me out. I don't think there should be any exclusive Pokemon in Sword and Shield that you can only get in Pokemon Go like Melton, but simply having the option to connect a Pokemon game to your phone has a lot of potential. Cause I mean, if you think about it, is Pokemon Let's Go interacting with Pokemon Go really all that different from connecting Heart Gold to the Pokewalker? I know Pokemon Go is not at all what a core Pokemon game should be, but even something as simple as walking a Pokemon around with you all day to gain experience points would be a nice touch. And yeah, the Pokeball controller does that, but it'd be cool to offer that same feature for free with a mobile app. I mean, everyone always has their phone with them at all times, and you kind of feel like an asshole carrying the Pokeball controller around with you. But if you're the kind of person who spray paints Pokemon No on buildings, or if you're the type who boasts about how Pokemon Go's dead despite how popular it still is, you could just play Sword and Shield without it. And even if most of the core Pokemon fans didn't feel like connecting the two, it's still never a bad idea to entice the people who only play Pokemon Go to give the core series a try. Cause believe it or not, there's a hell of a lot of Pokemon Go players who've never played a real game in the series. And if you really do hate Pokemon Go, then wouldn't you want these people to see the light? Plus, it'd be great for people who like both. So if the Pokemon Company could do something that people will either love or be unaffected by, then why not just do it? Number 5. Taking Pokemon out of their Pokeballs. To me, one of the most frustrating things about the Pokemon franchise is that it oftentimes introduces a cool new mechanic only to take it away in the next game. To name a few examples, Black and White had a perfectly organized bag and low health music, Black and White 2 had medals, and Heart Gold and Soul Silver introduced the best feature of all, having the option to take any of your Pokemon out of their balls so they could walk around with you. I'd have understood if this was scrapped in X and Y, since making extra 3D models for all the Pokemon would have been a nightmare, but I really don't see a good reason why it wasn't in the 5th generation games. But after years of waiting, this feature was not only brought back for Pokemon Let's Go, but it was also improved upon by allowing you to ride certain Pokemon. Given that Sword and Shield was in somewhat of a hurry to get to the Switch as soon as possible, I'm really not upset this feature's not coming back. Because programming 153 Pokemon for Let's Go is one thing, but if this feature came back for Sword and Shield, then they'd have to make extra models for over 660 Pokemon, and I don't think it's reasonable to expect that in a year. Regardless of how understandable it is this feature's not coming back though, it is still something that makes Sword and Shield a better game if they were able to pull it off. Maybe they'll keep pumping Let's Go games out and transfer this over to the main series after they've created animations and models for all the Pokebuddies. But either way, one of the first things I thought about as a kid imagining Pokemon in 3D was having them walk alongside you, so I do hope this feature returns one day. And I also hope today's patrons of the day, Buffalo from Utah and Matt Tendu, are doing wonderful. If you want to join these badasses, then consider supporting this channel on Patreon for loot boxes and silly rewards in the mail, or check the merch store out for t-shirts and mugs. And if you want to make cameos in videos, then just send us pictures of videos of you rocking the merch doing whatever you want. But is there anything in Pokemon Let's Go that you want to see in the main series? Or would you rather just see Let's Go die in a grease fire? Either way, let me know what you think in the comments below, and as always, I'll pin whatever I find most entertaining or intriguing. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already to prove to the world how big of a badass you are. And if you like and share this video, it really goes a long way to help this channel grow. My name's Cameron, and I'll see you next time.
So I want to say thank you to your loyalty, thank you for your support.